Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling. Welcome to another video where today we are covering the backbone of the Chaos Space Marine Army and Legionaries. Legionaries are 80 points per 5 models. They have a pretty standard Space Marine stat line with movement 6 inches, toughness 4, 3 plus save, 2 wounds, leadership 6, and OC 2, making them reasonably tough and also quite competent at stealing objectives. Now, they have a huge list of ranged weapons, and I will be going over all of them, though most of the time you're going to be taking the chainswords anyway. But, of course, there's the standard bolt gun at 2 attacks, hitting on 3s with 24-inch range, strength 4, AP 0, and damage 1. There is the bolt pistol, which is the same profile, but at 12 inches with only 1 attack. There is the balefire tome, which replaces your bolt gun, which is a psychic attack that has 2 shots, hits on 3s. It's only 18-inch range, so quite close range. It's strength 5, AP 1, damage 1, which is a fine enough upgrade over a bolt gun. There is a flamer, which of course has torrent and ignore cover, which is d6 attacks, auto hitting, 12-inch range, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. Fine at clearing hordes, but these guys don't really struggle with that, so as cool as the flamer looks, if you're trying to be competitive about it, leave it behind. If you're trying to be cool, bring it along. They get access to all of the Havoc heavy weapons, and if you're wondering why they kept their cross-compatibility with Havocs and a lot of other kits lost theirs, it's because Havocs and Legionaries are advertised as being cross-compatible. Same thing with Tactical Marines and Devastators. Now, so, on to that point, there's the Havoc autocannon, which is heavy. It has 2 attacks, it hits on 4s with 48-inch range, strength 9, AP 1, and damage 3. It's mainly let down by its lack of attacks, but it's fine enough. It'll be pretty efficient at killing normal Space Marines. It might blow up a Terminator and can chip lighter vehicles, which can have a use, but in general it's not my favorite. Next we have the Melt-A-Gun, which of course has Melted 2. It has 1 attack, it hits on 3s, 12-inch range, strength 9, AP 4, damage D6, so a very powerful shot at very close range, which is where these guys want to be. If you're going to bring a special weapon, I'd probably make it the Melt-A-Gun. We have the Heavy Bolter, which is heavy, it's sustained hits 1, 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, 36-inch range, strength 5, AP 1, and damage 2. This is, of course, just more horde clearing, and it's also good at killing Space Marines, but these guys don't really struggle to do that in their ideal environment, so even though the Heavy Bolter is my favorite heavy weapon, there's not that much reason to bring it. We'll get into why later. Next up, there is the Las Cannon, which is, of course, very powerful. It's heavy, 1 attack, hits on 4s, 48-inch range, strength 12, AP 3, and damage D6, plus 1. This is, of course, just one big anti-armor shot that's also quite competent at killing things like Terminators. This could be useful to have in a squad that is mainly going to be roving around objectives, and you just want it to occasionally chip into something across the map to maybe chip a wound off of a vehicle that's almost dead. There is the Las Cannon's younger brother and the missile launcher, which is, of course, heavy. It has its 2 modes, Crack and Frag. Crack is 1 attack on 4s, 48-inch range, strength 9, AP 2, and damage D6. So, sort of middle-of-the-road stats for an anti-tank weapon. And then Frag is heavy blast with D6 shots, hits on 4s, same range, but only strength 4, AP 0, and damage 1. You're mainly taking this for the Crack, and even then I don't think the Crack is super worth it. I think missile launchers are really only good if you can fire them en masse, not just one in a squad. There is the Plasma Gun, of course, which is rapid fire. It has 1 attack, it hits on 3s, 24-inch range, with strength 7, AP 2, and damage 1. You can overcharge, gain hazardous, which of course gets you an extra strength, AP, and damage, making it quite good at killing Space Marines. This would be my second choice after the Melt-A-Gun, if we're being purely competitive. Now for the main event is their melee weapons. They all, of course, come with a close combat weapon. If you take a bolter and a pistol, or don't take a chainsword, that would just be 3 attacks that hit on 3 at strength 4, AP 0, and damage 1. The chainsword is 4 attacks that hit on 3 at strength 4, AP 1, and damage 1. Quite a nice profile for clearing out enemy infantry, and it has a high quantity of attacks. There's the heavy melee weapon, which is 3 attacks that hits on 3 with strength 8, AP 2, and damage 2. A very good profile that you can take 2 of in the squad. You can put 1 on the champion and 1 on a squad member. And then there's the accursed weapon, which can go on your champion, which is 4 attacks hitting on 3s with strength 5, AP 2, and damage 1. So essentially an upgraded chainsword, but I'd usually take the heavy melee weapon. And the way that this works is that you can take 1 heavy melee weapon on the champion, 1 in the squad, and then you can take 1 heavy or 1 special per 5, I believe it is. But the main reason that the ranged weapons, as cool as just have all those options, is very useful is because their special rule is when they make an attack, with a melee attack against something in range of an objective, they get to reroll wound rolls. They get to reroll ones all the time, and then if the enemy's on an objective, they get to reroll everything. Of course, this is extremely useful, as their middling strength really enjoys rerolling wounds against tougher things and makes them extremely effective at clearing out other objective holders, whether it be intercessors or, say, guardsmen. They will excel against all of them because they will be wounding effectively with a high quantity of attacks as well as decent quality, as well as the heavy melee weapons will really enjoy rerolling all those wounds. Of course, the Legionaries, being the generic troops choice of the army, can take just about every leader, but I'd say the only two that are really worth their salt, excluding epic heroes — by the way, Abaddon can't lead them anymore — I'd say that for most detachments, you don't need to put a leader on Legionaries. They're fine doing their job and fighting over objectives in the midfield. But in the Deceptors, or Alpha Legion as I call it, you can infiltrate 3 units of Legionaries and bring along any attached characters, which is, of course, where these two fine gentlemen come in. A Chaos Lord adds in a lot of raw muscle might, as well as free stratagems, which is useful to have on the front line to activate, say, detonation, to auto-blow up something like a Land Raider, if it's right in the middle of the enemy army. Or the Master of Executions, which adds a little less melee might, but his special rule can allow you to reroll all hits if the enemy is below starting strength, which is very good with reroll all wounds, making them very effective against everything. But you could also use Soul Link if you just wanted to add some damage 3 devastating wounds to the unit on your Master of Possession, whenever you need to flex into the abilities that the Chaos Lords or another character uses. For me personally, I'm probably going to run 2 Chaos Lords in the midfield, and a Master of Executions, which I actually just converted the other day, and I will leave a Lord at home with Chosen or something, maybe in a Rhino or Land Raider, but also I may just run some other kind of Lord, whether it's Terminator or otherwise, to just make things a little different. I think that if you're in any other detachment, you can attach leaders, and I think it's totally valid to do so, given how effective Legionaries can be. But especially in Alpha Legion, you are going to want to attach characters to them. Or you could use the I Am Alfarius Warlord trait. That's not its name, but basically lets you hide a unit in reserves and then make it appear in a squad. Anyways, of course, next up is the role the Legionaries play, and they act very much as the muscle of the army. So while your elites take out more so things like tanks and heavy firepower, the Legionaries are good at clearing out the rest of the board. They're good at fighting hordes, they're good at fighting medium to heavy infantry, as well as taking objectives and holding them with just vicious ferocity, especially if they position themselves right. Anything that attacks them in melee is not going to be able to avoid being in engagement range and in an objective marker, which allows them to reroll everything. And while they also benefit a lot from the Dark Pact system, of course. Sustained hits really loves having all those reroll wounds, and lethal hits allows them to just punch up a little bit more against enemy heavies that they may run into on objectives, whether it be knight armigers or similar. Of course, just having a few of them lag behind the army is also useful in case they deep strike in something small, so these guys can clean it up. But whatever it is, Legionaries are hardly ever going to be a bad choice. They're very flexible, and their damage is very good for their role. In terms of detachments, the various detachments from the Black Legion 1 to Pact-Bound Zealots, all of those, they all benefit Legionaries. All of the Chaos detachments benefit pretty much everything with no keyword restrictions except damned units, and Vashtor's detachment doesn't benefit Legionaries directly, but in some like Deceptors, Legionaries are absolutely essential. And I think that in any army, Legionaries are just going to be useful to have roaming around the board to take out any stragglers or to fight the fights on the peripherals of the map to help secure those objectives and overall win the game. Of course, in Deceptors, you're going to want to run 3 units of them with characters attached, presumably, because if you can get them up the midfield that quickly, they can really start to pose problems for people that don't play calmly enough in terms of deployment and like to deploy aggressively. It could end up with these guys just sweeping through the enemy lines with crushing efficiency. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.